All right.
Let's get through this 38-page paragraph of a fucking tagline.
Oh.
With 30 million skiers and snowboarders in the U.S. and over 5,000 chairlifts in operation, it's only a matter of time before someone gets left behind. Welcome to Happy Suffer.
That is such an unnecessarily long.
Yeah.
The other two are just fight to survive. They're fine, and no one knows you're up there.
No one knows you're up there, yeah. Which is, again, true.
Yeah.
Like, factual.
Better.
Nobody knows, but...
I should just start reading one of the goofs instead of a tagline for fucking beginnings.
What's a goof? What is one?
Let's see. Find one. Parker's position relative to Joe changes between shots when they first talk at the lodge. Welcome to Happy Suffer.
Wow. That is a pretty bad goof. Like,
I mean, most of them are constantly just like a fucking shot continuity thing where they'll be like, well, like her hair was facing this direction, and like when it goes back, it's facing a different direction. It's like, okay, calm down.
Button.
No.
Button.
that's not a good goof. Although, like, that is like one of the things that I do like to notice in shots. Like, if there are two characters talking and it does that thing where it switches between like one character's point of view and the other. So like sometimes you're looking at the back of them. I'm like, wow, her hair is completely different. Obviously, because it's shot in a different scene, you know, like,
Yeah.
but like, I wouldn't really say that's a goof. You know what's a good goof? There
Goofy?
is the Goofy movie. Oh my god, I'm so excited. That's one of the movies I watch on my birthday every year, so that means I get to watch it this week, and I'm really excited. No, the movie...
Way to just drop that as your birthday, so everybody sends you gifts. We get it.
I think I'm not sly
I will
about
post
when it's my birthday.
Katie's address in the show notes.
Oh, that's okay. That is not necessary. A good goof that I love is the movie The Haunting that came out in 1999. It's based on Haunting of Hill House, so obviously it's like one of my favorites. It's one of those. Oh, Owen Wilson is in it. It's one of those movies that's like kind of like House on a Haunted Hill for me, where it's like not a good movie, but I love it so much. So eventually, I feel we should do it. But there's a scene towards the end where one of the characters is like pushing off of a pillar. So it's like takes place in this like super elaborate haunted house. And there's like these huge like supposedly stone pillars, right? And there's a scene where one of the characters stands up and like pushes themselves up on it, and they're not supposed to. And their hand indents on it because it's literally foam. And they just like nobody noticed, I guess, that it was in the shot until like the movie aired, and then people are like, and I love it. And I it's like one of those things, you know, like the Lord of the Rings thing that like I always look for or whatever.
I feel like
that's a good goof.
I feel like
saying the distance between people is like, get out of here.
I feel like that kind of shit's only fun when it's like something that was made before people realized that like home video was gonna be a thing. So it's like, it'll be like shit in like that fucking stormtrooper hitting its head in Star Wars, where everyone's just like, no one's gonna fucking notice this. They're gonna see it like once in a movie theater, and that's it. But
right.
now you get to see all of that shit like in fucking 4K.
Yeah, that's fair. I love it.
A good long intro. This is episode 298 of I Hope You Suffer. This movie has a terrible soundtrack.
It's so fitting, I think.
Just fucking...
wolves that never go away.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be 2 seconds of Kane Hodder.
Yeah. Just in every Adam Green movie.
I love it.
We are talking about 2010's Frozen. One of the 38 movies on Letterboxd called Frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. I think Kit just got abducted.
It's my dumb fucking neighbor who I hate.
Always.
Thought Kit got dumped into a trash can. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Frozen. Uh, a movie, like I said, with some of the worst bro college rock I think I've ever heard in my life in it.
It's great.
Like the actual score in some of it, I like. The
Oh, good.
soundtrack is
Yeah.
fucking brutal. Every time like I hear any song play this, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is terrible. But yeah, I guess I figure this is what these three absolutely unlikable characters would listen to. So
Definitely.
I love me a movie where just bad shit happens to just the most unlikable people. Katie, why was this one of your picks?
So I first saw this movie in probably 2015-ish because like I remember I had moved to Richmond like pretty like we were in our apartment. So we had lived in Richmond for a little bit, and this was like one of the first movies that I remember you specifically recommending that I watch. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, like I don't know. But fine. So I watched it and I just like genuinely loved it. And I feel like that just like doesn't happen to me a lot where someone's like, hey, go watch this movie, and then I watch it and I'm like, this is kick ass. And I also feel like I feel like it's definitely has notoriety now as being, but I feel like at the time it was like one that like for a while people didn't really know about. But it is like the reason I like it so much is that you would think that like a movie about three people stuck on a chairlift would be boring, but it's like not. Like I feel for me the length is perfect and everything that happens to it in it the first time I watched it shocked me. And I feel like the things that happen in it are like actually things that could happen, which makes it scary to me. Like everything that happens in this movie is pretty much like a worst fear.
Yeah, I it's the same thing with sort of like something along the lines of Jaws, where it's just like it's very plausible that this could happen to you.
Yeah.
But it's also like a thing where like it's a like I like a movie where somebody is stuck in just like a situation that like seems extreme but also like out of the ordinary. Like
Yeah.
like I don't know, like I like if this shit obviously happens but not enough that it's like a big problem. Same way that like, Jaws would be. Or like there's that movie like the movie The Pool where the guy's just stuck in a fucking Olympic sized swimming pool that emptied out and then all of a sudden like a fucking crocodile shows up or whatever.
Yeah, I still need to watch that one.
So I like stuff like that where it's just like just somebody in a shitty situation that just like keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I think I would cut like I would get them onto the chairlift faster if I
That's
was
fair.
editing this. Like I don't need all of this fucking snowboarding shots and shit and like I don't know, like it's just that's the problem I had watching it this time is I was just like everybody in this movie sucks so much. I hate all of them. And so I was like just get stuck faster. That's all I wanted.
You don't
Yeah.
want everyone standing in front of the Newberry comic sign for
No,
10
so
minutes?
you could pretend you're actually filming in New England. I do like I appreciate that like this was like entirely practical. So like they're
Yeah.
actually at like a like a ski resort or whatever and like filming on a chairlift. They're like none of it's like in a studio.
Yeah, and
And
I feel like you can like actually tell too, like the
yeah,
authenticity is
like
there.
I was never 100% sure where like some of the close-up shots, but like
Right.
like I was reading that it was all like completely practical and it was like a huge problem because the director is like massively afraid of heights.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, seems terrible. I remember like very specifically I was working at Kohl's and somebody being like, "Oh, have you seen that like Frozen movie?" And it was like, when it first came to like DVD. And I was like, "I saw a trailer for that. It looks dumb as shit." I was like, "I can't imagine that movie would be at all watchable." And they was like,
Right.
"No, dude, it's actually really good." And then like I remember going to like rent movies and I was like, "Okay, well, you know what? I'll give it a shot." And I was like surprised at like how well done it is.
Yeah.
Like it's like it, again, like it's a thing that you like. You hear the premise and you're like, that would be so boring. I don't want to just watch some people stuck on a ski lift for an hour and a half, but they manage. Like, there's parts in the middle when it's just like Parker and fucking Lynch where I'm like, all right, you could move this along a little bit, but like it holds your attention pretty well. Kit, what are your thoughts?
It. I was definitely with you where it's like, there's no way that's good. That looks fucking stupid. And it's definitely a better movie than it has any right to be. I think I liked it a little bit better the first time that I watched it.
Yeah,
however long ago when it came out. But cannot believe it's fucking 14 years old. What the fuck? But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty tight little thriller thing, and like an absolutely fucking horrific scenario to be caught in. Those fucking wolves. Oh, they're just hanging out down there forever.
Yeah, I think like even without the wolves, like it's already like a horrifying situation where it's like your only chance of survival is jumping down and breaking both your legs or climbing down this like fucking razor wire.
Yeah.
Right?
And shit. And like
then it's also like your other option is to stay there and freeze to death. So like it really is just like almost any scenario, it feels like a loss.
I think there's a way he could have landed where he wouldn't break both of his legs like that. He just decided to stiffen his legs and
to like do a
stick
pencil
them straight
dive
out.
into the snow. Yeah.
I also
That's
think
fair.
like every time I watch it, I'm just like I'm always just like, if you would have just waited till morning when the snow is like soft or whatever, because it's just like fresh snow, you probably would have been fine.
Just give it a try, you know, like what were you gonna lose? Also, like
I was gonna say real quick, I also constantly think like if they all three just stayed on that chair and were able to like break it like towards the end when it falls, I feel like they probably would be fine.
Also, like
I feel like it would like soften the blow a little bit.
Also, I feel like when Joe like gets to the pole, like obviously spoilers for what happens, but gets to the pole, like he didn't immediately have to jump down when he knew very well that there were wolves there. Like maybe just chill. Like I understand his adrenaline was probably going because he's like hurt and he's like, oh my god, I made it. But then it's like, just chill a minute. The wolves could have left. Like you didn't even need to jump down.
I don't
immediately. Like, bro, hang out up there for like an hour.
I don't remember, or like I don't understand why he just like sits on a snowboard or whatever to go down the hill. Like, why doesn't he stand on it?
He doesn't know how to snowboard.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which
I'd
can't
figure
confirm.
out real fucking fast if I'm surrounded by fucking wolves.
Snowboarding is very hard, compared to skiing, I think. But
I would grab that snowboard and just start swinging at the fucking wolves.
That too. That too. He had two
plenty of options.
Yeah, I
throw
agree.
your fucking bloody gloves into the woods to distract them, so they run towards those.
Yeah, I definitely feel like obviously things could have gone differently.
What we're saying is
dig up some of your dead friends.
Yeah, no shit.
Throw an arm out there.
The three of us would have survived this, no problem. Is what we're saying.
Well, it helps that you're like 8 feet tall, so I feel like you could definitely just like get off the chair. You know,
no, my legs would break
just
in
step
half.
up.
I would break in half at the knees, like fold up like a fucking Murphy bed.
Just like ragdoll, crumple immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I do agree, like, watching it, knowing what happens, the back and forth arguing of these, like, piece of shit friends, like, obviously is, like, a little bit more grating. But like I said, the first time, this was, like, one of those movies where, like, my impression of the first time I watched it was just so good, because I literally was not expecting anything that happened.
It's
zero expectations.
And the gore and the sound effects, like, woof.
It's
like,
definitely, like, the best Adam Green movie. Like,
I don't know if I've seen. Let me see.
I like Hatchet, but it's another one where like it just fucking, his movies suffer from the same shit where it's just like the worst bro characters you've ever seen, just all the time. And like Hatchet, like every person in it sucks, but it's got like this really insane over the top gore in it that like makes it fun, but then like all of the sequels are kind of trash.
I feel like maybe I've seen that, but I just like don't really remember.
There's a scene where someone's head gets ripped in half from the jaw that rocks.
Oh, maybe I haven't. Maybe I'm thinking of Machete. I
Oh yeah, I never
understand those
saw
are very
Machete.
different, but I think that's what I'm thinking of. He's got a short called Pumpkin Dick, so there you go.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
I
don't.
think his. I might be wrong because I watched Chillerama at some point. I think when Netflix had it, and he's got like a segment in it that I think is about like a giant sperm attacking people,
Okay,
and so like
well,
he's just kind of got like that
I don't like it.
Yeah.
sense of humor that like doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
But
I
like
agree. This
he's like
movie, though, very good.
I appreciate him for being one of those dudes that is stuck by like at least from what I've seen a like essentially like a no CGI sort of thing.
Hmm.
Like he tries to do everything practical effects as much as possible. Like that I respect, and like he's seems like one of those dudes that like he's just kind of he's got his like a less dumb Adam Sandler where he's constantly just like, well, I'm friends with these people, so they're gonna be in my movies. So like
Yeah.
Kane Hodder's in like everything. Like fucking D. Snyder will show up in all of these movies and shit. Like all of the characters in this movie are named after like people he actively knows that are usually part of his like production team or in the movies.
Yeah,
And so he does like stuff like that that I appreciate, but he just kind of has like a sense of humor that just does not work for me.
yeah, that's fair. Trying to see, like, I feel like the girl Emma Bell, she's like the only one that I didn't really like. I never, for some reason, I misremember the her role as being somebody else, but I don't think I've really seen anything that she's in.
I don't. Other
She's not really in
than
a lot.
what's his name, Sean Astin, I don't think I'm familiar with like anybody in this movie except Kane Hodder.
So the other guy, Kevin Zegers, he was kind of like a childhood, not childhood star, but he was in like an Air Bud movie. He was in Komodo. So like I recognize him just from
so
like
bad.
I recognize him just from being like very honestly in Air Bud, and then just like childhood stuff. Um, I don't know.
He kind of looks like modern day Zac Efron to me.
He looks like that guy that's in. Okay, I know everyone's gonna laugh at me for this, but I get Vampire Diaries and True Blood mixed up. I think it's Vampire Diaries, maybe. He looks like the guy that's in that everybody likes.
I know what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
from just like the poster art or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about
Yeah, let's get it.
broken legs.
Okay, sorry, I was looking at other people. Okay, so this movie, Frozen, starts at a beautiful castle. Just kidding. That's what I assume the regular Frozen starts at. It starts at a ski resort.
They actually both start at the same ski resort.
Oh, okay. And we just get kind of like this will probably go pretty fast because a lot of this movie is like the characters talking and then like shots
Yelling
of
at
ski
each other.
slopes. So it starts with basically just like this long, well, great rock music in the parentheses rock music
brutal.
playing. And ski slopes and lifts, and we get introduced to our three characters who are named Parker, which is Emma Bell, Sean Ashmore is Joe. They call him Lynch, I call him Joe, and then Kevin Zegers is Dan. So Parker,
No,
Joe,
Lynch.
and Dan.
That's funny. He's in there as one of the guys on the lift the first time they go up.
Oh,
Yeah,
Well,
Joe
you
Lynch
see-
and who else? There's another horror director.
I could probably tell you. I remember reading it and like I think it was in the IMDb stuff.
Oh, I'm dumb. It's Adam Green. He's sitting there with Joe Lynch.
love it. I love it. I didn't even notice. So great. See, those are the kinds of things we need. I mean, that's
Oh
all
yeah,
I
they're
do
like the
with
people
Bigfoot, but,
behind
like-
him when they're like screaming at him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That are looking at them like they're fucking obnoxious, which they are. So Parker, Joe, and Dan are basically at the they're trying to get on the lift for like cheaper than it is to buy passes, and they're basically like waiting for this like one worker that Dan knows to come, and she doesn't. It's just this other guy, so they're like, I don't know what we're gonna do, because like we obviously can't just buy tickets to do this. Like, we need to scandal somebody.
I need to know how much ski lift tickets are, because it's insane that $100 was like a better
cheap
deal.
I honestly have no idea. So so it's just like some guy there instead, and so they essentially like talk Parker into going over and like quote unquote using her feminine wiles to like trick this guy into letting them get on the ski lift. So Dan gives her $100, but he's like, just try and give him 50, which that seems pretty cheap. Like, I don't know how much ski tickets are, but definitely they're not $50.
Yeah, $50 isn't going to cover 3 people.
So, while she's over there kind of like smoozing it up or whatever, she is also a very normal person. Like, I personally do not find her annoying at all. Like, I think she's written in a way that like makes sense. She just like walks over and is just like, hey, can I bum a cigarette? Like, she's not being like a whatever. So while she's doing that,
God,
Joe,
these prices are fucking insane.
Okay.
I mean, like, for like, geez, like on a fucking weekday, some of these resorts are up to $184.
Just to ride the lift?
I think literally to just like get in, and like it probably maybe contains lift passes. I'm looking at United States ski passes prices. It's like a bunch of fucking places. Some of these places are like, goddamn, like well over $1,000. This one place is almost $3,000 for just like a season pass.
Oh yeah, no. I've skied once in my whole life, and I would never pay to do it again.
Yeah, I don't think I've been skiing since I was like 9.
Yeah.
This is $184 for a single day.
That's insane. For one person?
$244.
Well, the thing that confuses me about their situation, too, is that, like, they make it seem like this is something they do a lot. Well, I guess they do, right? If they know one of the workers enough that she'll give them a discount. But I'm just like, just save up and buy the pass. I don't know, whatever.
Just jump in the chair. Fucking
yeah,
go.
what are they going to do? They
Grab
can't
on,
stop all 3 of you.
Hang on to
Grab
it.
on.
I did that shit at a Top Golf once. Just walk in. Just get a spot.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
No one said anything.
They don't know.
I mean, it's like the idea that, like, if, like, they tell, you see all those videos of, like, somebody, like, rushing out of a store with, like, a cart full of stuff. And everyone's like, how come no one's stopping them? And I'm like, employees are told not to. Like, you're told you're not allowed to stop somebody shoplifting. So, like, that's why. But also, like, I feel like do the same thing when you go to, like, a ski resort. Just fucking run up the mountain. What are they going to do?
Yeah. And then run down.
Up the mountain.
Yeah, and then just run back down.
Okay.
Throw a wolf at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring a wolf, throw it at the guy, and then get on the lift.
What's he gonna do? Okay, so like while she is kind of like flirting with this lift guy, Joe is giving Dan a hard time because of essentially just like having a girlfriend, and he's basically just like, we don't hang out anymore because you're always hanging out with her, and like I can't believe you brought her here because this is like our thing, which is like totally like a dude bro thing to deal with. Like this scenario is very real to me. And Dan is basically so they have this like conversation or whatever, and then Parker's like, woohoo, yay, I did it. And Dan is like, okay, like where's my change? And she's like, oh, there isn't any. And he's like pissed off that she gave him the full $100.
He's just like, you gave me $250s. What was I supposed to do? Ask for change?
Joe says, I would have. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. Yeah, Joe's just like petty about it. So they get on the lift. Parker and Dan, again, Parker and Dan are the ones that are in a relationship, right? And they kind of like argue. They kind of have like a little like, I don't know, relationship bickering because like he doesn't call her by any pet names and she wants him to, which seems like the conversation not for being on a ski lift in front of like the friend or whatever. That seems like strange.
There's literally nothing more uncomfortable than when
Yeah.
you're just sitting and listening to your friend and their partner fucking argue about something.
About something
So awkward.
Really, yeah. And so this kind of like goes on or whatever, and then Parker and Dan both make fun of Joe because they're both snowboarding, but he's skiing. And they basically like make fun of him because he doesn't know how to snowboard, and he says snowboards are too emo for me.
Correct.
Yeah.
He gets it.
But yeah, really, seriously. Then Parker and Joe argue because she is smoking on the lift and he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Which
Same.
I feel is fair. I feel like that's really fair. You don't need to be doing that. But it's like very obvious that she's nervous. Like, number one, she's like on this trip with her boyfriend, and her and his best friend don't get along. And then also she's like very obviously nervous about being on the lift, which I understand. But like, yeah, just maybe don't just like light up without asking. I don't know. But then Joe keeps going on and talking about smelling dental floss, which really vile. I don't care for that.
Snort it.
Snort
You
it
never
up your
flossed your nose?
and then out your mouth and like, you know?
Yeah. People do that.
I love how okay, so
Do it with spaghetti if you're feeling adventurous.
exactly. They are just like doing their, you know, like having their little bickering or whatever, and then suddenly the lift clanks and stops. At this point, like, the lift is full, like there's people all around, and it just like stops working, and then of course immediately they're like, hey, what's going on here, and like yelling and being like obnoxious like frat dude situations, and like everybody else that's on the lifts are like looking at them like, can you shut the fuck up? Parker is
you.
Parker is stressed, rightfully so. Like, I think that like we went on like a family trip, which is the only time that I've ever been skiing. I did try to snowboard first because obviously I was emo, so I had to snowboard. It is so hard if you've never snowboarded and you don't have anybody teaching you what to do. But I don't think that we went on a lift like that. But that in and of itself to me sounds terrifying. You're just like obviously suspended above the ground, but like really high, and it doesn't feel like there's that much like safety stuff in place. Like the bar, I know, but
I mean,
swings.
Like, at this point, I would just be like, well, I'm cold, but like whatever. Like all of the other lifts are like full of people. There's like, it's not like you're gonna get stuck there forever.
Oh no,
so I would
but
be
I
like,
this
sucks, but like
the
whatever.
lift scares me.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I would have just been like, yeah, this is fine, whatever.
No,
like an hour in,
that.
I would be like, I'd be pissed because I'd be cold, but like,
yeah. And I will say too that like obviously they didn't later know that they're gonna get stuck on the lift, but I don't feel like they're dressed super properly
I'm sorry.
be like.
The minute it starts getting dark, I'm not going up that hill.
No.
What the fuck is wrong with these people trying to go in like the dark?
Yeah. And the one dude's like, whatever happened to night skiing? Like, what? Shut up. That's not a thing.
Is that a thing?
That's so fucking dangerous. Get out of here.
Those wolves own that hill at night. What are you doing?
Yeah.
This is how you see a fucking Bigfoot and get eaten.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what
they are
movie.
New England.
The one thing
so.
missing in this movie was Bigfoot.
If Bigfoot showed up, I would have lost my mind.
Just pulls
you
the
don't
dude's
even know,
leg
like,
off and walks away.
Like, this would have been a perfect, like, secretly a cryptid movie. This would be literally 5-star.
It would be. Imagine it's like Joe gets down from the pole and runs off, and the wolves chase him, and then like all of a sudden you just see a wolf get punted across the screen, and it's just Bigfoot showed up to save him.
To save them.
Carries Joe off into the woods, and you don't see him again.
Marries him. They're husbands.
Yep.
I love that.
He's got his partner now.
All right, here's my fanfic. Here's my 2010s Frozen fanfic.
Or if like Joe decided to jump and all of a sudden a Sarlacc pit opened.
Yeah, that would have been great. Okay, so Parker's like freaked out a little bit, and they're all just like, woohoo, you know, being obnoxious, and then the lift starts again. It's fine. So then there's like a little like montage of them skiing and snowboarding or whatever. This is kind of like where I agree they could have cut this, because ultimately this doesn't matter. They basically like go back to the resort and are like eating or whatever, and Joe is complaining about the fact that like Parker really sucks at snowboarding, so they couldn't really just like go down the mountain by themselves and do runs because they had to keep like stopping and waiting for her. And he's basically just like, she sucks. And
the worst friend.
Yeah, he really is.
Like, even if you think that, like, just keep it to yourself. Or
Yeah,
like,
just
wait till she's not there at bare minimum.
Or like just go ski by yourself for a little bit if
Yeah.
you know he
Yeah,
wants
just
to
be
stay.
like, hey, I'm gonna go do a run on the like a good hill.
Right. Like, whatever. So he's basically just like, she sucks, like we haven't really been able to do this run, and like I don't know, like you shouldn't have invited her. And they like have this like argument, right? And Parker like overhears and is like, hey, I'm really sorry, like I was like weary about coming, like you guys, why don't you guys go and ski and I'll just go back to the room and do some homework, like it's really not a big deal. And then this is when Joe decides that he's gonna try and like save face and be like, oh no, that's not what I meant, like I actually was the one that like suggested you could come, and like all of this shit, which like I don't really know why he picks this moment to like be nice to her or whatever. But you know, they're like, she's like, you guys should just go. And then like for some reason they all three of them like, I don't know why they weren't just like, okay, let's go. And like, because she still comes and it's like, this is still the problem that you've had all day. So it doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. They're all going to go together, right? So they get back to the ski lift, and the ski lift guy is like, sorry, like I'm shutting this down. You guys can't go up because there's a storm coming. They're like basically trying, he's like, Dan's like, we gave you all our money. Like we don't have any more money. Just let us go up. And so my thought is like, did they give him $100 just to go down the hill like one time?
One time.
It was for like the day, because they said they've done like a couple runs. They've just all been on like that fucking, you know, light hill,
like the bunny, bunny skill or whatever. So, yeah, like, but anyways,
my understanding is that they've done it at, like, I think they've said at least 4 runs. But yeah, I don't know. Like, seems like a better deal based on all the things I saw.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Oh, this was 14 years ago. Everything's cheaper then.
Oh,
yeah,
well.
True.
Yeah. So
everything was like at least 3 times cheaper then.
Yeah.
So
they're basically like let us go up, like sorry we don't have any more money, and the guy's like, it's not about the money, like there's a storm coming, I really can't let you go. And they basically are just like, oh come on man, we'll just do one run, then we'll be over it, we'll be out of your hair, blah blah blah. And the guy lets them, which he absolutely should not have.
Yeah.
But he's like, okay, fine, just like one run, go ahead. So they get on and they start going up, right? That guy is called away because of some scheduling issue, which is really believable because essentially the other guy comes up and is like, hey, the boss wants to talk to you about working next weekend. And the guy's like, I'm not working next weekend. I'm going to my brother's bachelor party. And he's like, that's what you think. And the guy's like, I'm in the wedding. And I was like, that is really something a boss would do to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, so he goes running off and he's like, hey, by the way, there's 3 on the lift, so wait till they come down and then shut it off. So he skitters off, right? So they are basically like, they're on the lift and there's like 3 guys going down, and one of them like goes off a jump, like don't get me wrong,
jump I've ever seen.
Literally, I was gonna say, don't get me wrong, I am not athletic. I would not be going over this jump myself, but the jump is very small, and Dan is like, whoa, we are definitely hitting that jump on the way down. And I was like, okay, bro. So they come down, the lift guy sees the 3 people, but they were already on the mountain, and just assumes that these are the people that the lift guy was talking about. So he's like, okay, time to go home, and like turns off the lift. So now the 3 of them are stuck on the lift.
So the one thing I also don't get is like, the one dude is putting those flags in the chair to make sure that, like, everybody has gone through. But then, like, after they get on, he just stops doing it. So there's a shit ton of chairs without those flags in it. And I'm like, okay, so, like, doesn't this defeat the purpose of checking to make sure no one's on the lift?
Right, and I also feel like they definitely should be doing a check, like, up the mountain to make sure that there actually isn't anybody. But then I'm like, realistically, people don't do their job. So this would definitely happen.
Especially now if there's a storm. Fuck that.
There's a storm coming. It's already starting to thunder in the background. The guy has to go. It's been a while since I said this. The guy's got to go drain the lizard. So he's just like, okay, sweet. The 3 people are here. Turns it off. Leaves, right? So Parker, so they're all up there just kind of like chilling for a while, and they're just like, oh, don't worry, like, they're not going to leave us up here, you know. And also, like, again, the lift stopped on them before, so they're kind of just like, oh, this is probably just like haha.
They're just doing that thing.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, the guy knows, you know, and unbeknownst to them,
they know we're up here, it'll be fine.
Right. They don't know anything about the guard change, right? So it's like all perfectly set up for them to be forgotten, which I appreciate because I feel like this is believable to me that this would happen, right? So, so basically they're like sitting there for a little while. They're like, nothing's gonna happen. We're fine. It'll be great. This is when they start just kind of like having a little chit chat while they're waiting. Dan asks, what's the worst way you can think of to die? And he says to get eaten by a shark, which turns out to be like pretty fitting.
Well, yeah, that's
not
like
a shark,
it's
but
because he talks
the shark of the woods.
He talks about like you know, no, like just being stuck in a situation where like you have to essentially know it's coming. Yeah, like facing that, and that's exactly what happens with like the wolves.
And when you don't know that, it's like perfect foreshadowing too. Parker says that for her it would be burning, and then I said, oh, they're talking about 9/11. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. She's basically talking about like burning, and she's like, think about how terrible it would be inside, that jumping is like the better option. And I'm like, woof. Then Joe says, oh, easy, Snarlack pit. Great.
Like,
I especially
thanks
love
for
that
contributing,
one.
guy.
Right. I especially love that one because it's not real. Like,
yeah.
Sure.
My most feared way of dying is a thing that can't ever happen.
Right.
Cool, man. Thanks.
And like the idea behind him saying that is he's like the idea of being just like digested over hundreds of years or whatever. And I'm like, but that's not going to happen. You would like starve to death or whatever before, or get crushed or something. And also, again, it's not real. So that's fine though. Okay. So as they're like having this like conversation, all of a sudden the lights in the ski resort start turning off. And it's like done in this way that's like so spooky because it's like we see the front of them sitting on the lift, and you see the lights one by one like shut off behind them, and it's like they're big lights, right? So they're making that like poof, poof sound when they're like being shut down, and then it just like continues up the line, and they're just like silent for a minute, and then they start really freaking out. You know, because like it's very clear at this point that they have been forgotten. And also now they can't see, which is pretty spooky. So
it seems pretty bright out there to me.
Well, okay, that's fair. They're freaking out. Obviously, they're like, "Oh my God, they did forget us. Like, what are we gonna do?" Dan, it's been not even an hour at this point, I would have to say. And Dan is immediately already like, "Oh, I'll just jump. Like, I've done it before. It's no big deal. Like, worst case, I'll just jump down." Sir, it's just such a bad idea. Parker is just like, "Oh my God, like, it's Sunday now. Everybody's gone home. The park doesn't reopen until Friday, so we're gonna be up here for like a whole week. Like, we're very obviously gonna die." And Joe's like, "Oh, don't worry. They won't leave us up here that long. Like, there's no way." And
I find it hard to believe that this place doesn't run during the week.
During the week? I know.
Like, you only have a specific amount of time to, like, run during the season. I find it hard to believe that it's just the weekend.
Because it's also like not out of season. Like it's
Yeah.
actively snowing, so like you'd think that they would be open, but yeah, she's like, oh, they don't open for a week. Joe's like, don't worry, like they're not gonna leave us up here. And then Parker's like, I have to pee wicked bad, wicked
Oh my
bad,
god, their uses
and
of wicked in this are, like, not at all
Wicked.
believable.
wicked. And she starts crying. Listen, I feel you, girl. It's tough out there. Oh, this is when they start hearing thunder in the distance. And Joe is like, "Oh, I also have to pee." And Parker says, if you pull your junk out, I'm gonna puke."
Got him.
And his dick must look
Um,
horrific. She's seen it before.
Obviously,
Hey,
obviously.
I saw
the
what-
smell.
I saw
It's the smell that gets you.
I saw him in Wolf Girl
Ew!
with his fucking micro penis. I believe it.
I love that it's canon for you that he has a micro penis.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
The one
I mean,
time I've seen
I
him
haven't-
nude in a movie.
I was gonna say I have not, so I can't really prove you wrong there. He does it anyway, and he pees, and he kind of like makes a show about how he's relieved.
Also, he's Iceman. He could get them down so easy.
Right.
Just make a slide
Yeah.
out of ice.
I did the pee. Like that's all you had to do. Make
Yeah.
a pee slide,
Damn. That would have been sick.
right?
Just slide down into the wolves, drop kick them in the head.
That's right. Just drop ice cubes on their head.
Drop an elbow on him as you slide down.
Oh man, I take it back. This movie sucks. There's so many ways that they could have just really turned this around.
Literally, if they would have both just peed at the same time, it would have just froze. They could climb down, slide down like a pole. It would have been fine.
Yeah, seriously, God, idiots. So he pees whatever. It starts hailing at this point and like snowing sideways. It is literally a
It's the snowstorm they talked about.
Sorry.
Like,
my headphones lady just yelled "charging battery" in my ear really loud, and it really it really took me off guard.
really
I was
show
like,
you
"Who's
know.
this woman?"
Who is screaming?
Okay, yeah. So it's like a thunder snowstorm, right? And they're like,
Oh, thunder sleet. Hell yeah.
Terrible. I would also think that sitting high up in like an altitude of it would be really bad. And so after a little while, they see a snowplow coming and are like, "Oh my God, whoop 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 whoop! Yeah, we're safe, we're safe. He's here to help us. He's here to help us." He's not there to help them. I don't actually even know what he's doing. It's Kane Hodder.
He was driving up to get whoever was supposed to be working at the top of the ski lift.
Okay.
And then the guy's like, "Oh, he's already down here. Like, you can come back, so we
Come
can all
back,
go
and-
home."
Yeah.
He was driving up just to drive back down.
Yeah, basically.
Because
Like
it's fun.
actually, yeah. Well, you know, he's in like a fucking huge snowplow, right? And he's just like, "Oh, okay." Word. Just turns around and drives away, and they're like, "Oh no, he didn't see us." Which
They're throwing stuff at him, and he's just like
doo-doo-doo.
looking back because he's backing up.
Yeah.
It seems
Not
like it
paying
would be
attention.
much easier to not back up in that thing and just like turn around.
Turn around. Yeah.
Yeah. He had plenty of space to do it too.
Do an Austin Powers K turn.
So he's gone, and it just kind of like adds to the hopelessness because like in that moment,
That's your one best shot.
yeah, their hope swelled because they're like, "Oh, we're saved. He's definitely here for us," and it's just like unrelated. Bummer.
JK.
So some time has passed. They're, obviously still on the ski lift. But we know it's later because like the snow has stopped at least. It's just like whatever. And they're having their little conversation again, wherein Joe asks top 3 breakfast cereals of all time. One of his is Lucky Charms. So
Yeah, he gets it.
I don't know. I don't trust his taste.
Well, I think he says like fruity breakfast cereals.
No, he literally just says top 3 breakfast cereals.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I swear he had like a descriptor on it, but maybe not. Because then he also names like 3. It's like that, Crunch Berries, and something else.
I can't remember what the other one was. I'm assuming he means Captain Crunch, Oops All Berries, which is a banger. Love Captain Crunch.
Yeah, you would.
Let's see. Okay. So they're having this like he's like going on he's like just trying to lighten it up by like talking about like whatever, but the other two are just like not having it. This is when Dan decides somebody needs to jump, and it's because they're like he like looks over at Parker and notices that she's starting to get frostbite, which I imagine is terrible. And he's like, okay, one of us definitely needs to jump. Again, it's only been a couple hours at this point. And so to your point, I feel like they should have just huddled up and waited till morning. Like,
yeah,
you're going to be... I mean, I guess I don't know how quick you could freeze to death, but like, they probably could have just waited. But whatever. He decides he's got to jump.
Crunch Berries, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Lucky Charms cereals.
Yeah. I stand by Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I love that.
Yeah. Cinnamon Toast Crunch slaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had it as like a Rice Krispie treat?
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. Oh my god, it's incredible. So good. I love cereal. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, Parker's getting frostbite and he's like, okay, one of us needs to jump now. He's like, I'm gonna do it. Even if I hurt myself, I can just like slide down to the bottom, which is hilarious once you know what happens.
But it's also no one's there. What are you gonna do if you like hurt yourself and get down there?
That's my thought.
You jump and break both your legs.
So like, yeah, what if just spitballing here?
Like you can't even get into the lodge to call anybody. It's not like there's like a phone.
Right. So my thought was that their intention was like if I get to the bottom, I could break it and use the phone. But we see very obviously that the end of the mountain does not like lead directly to the ski lodge that way. So I don't really know what the thought was except for them being kind of rash, like rushing into needing to escape, right? So Dan drops his snowboard down and he basically is just like, hey, by the way, when I said I had jumped off the ski lift before, I totally lied. I'm very scared. And he's like crying or whatever. And they're like, okay, whatever. He jumps immediately. It's actually very funny because we get this like POV of him jumping off the chair, but it's like as if you are him looking down. So all you see is his legs sticking straight out for whatever reason. And he lands on the ground and immediately snaps his legs in half. And, like, we see the whole thing.
Yeah, bones sticking all the way out.
I feel like I would just curl into a ball or something.
Tuck and roll.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do, but I feel like it absolutely would not be... Like, did he really think he was going to just, like, land on his feet? Like, sir...
Like, I feel like if you land on, like, your side and you're in, like, a ball, like, maybe you break your arm, maybe you pop it out of, like, socket or whatever, but you could still get up and, like...
Or, like, your
run
hip,
down the hill
case.
or what. Well, if you break your hip, you're fucked. You're stuck there, too. But
well, I feel like if it's just one of your hips, it's better than your legs being broken in half.
I also feel like I would probably try my best to, like, hang from it, so I'm at least not... Like, I don't know. It feels like you would save at least, like, 5 feet. Not that that's, like, a big difference, but...
I would also wait until it's daylight.
Yes.
Again, yes. And
I would also take my snow boots off. And all my clothes.
Oh, sure.
Less wind resistance.
You tie your pants to the rail and then you can, like,
if they would have
clothes on and make, like, a clothes rail.
If they would have all just got naked and just tied their clothes and climbed down.
Use it like a parachute and just parachute down the hill.
Oh, yeah. If he was wearing parachute pants.
Yeah.
Right?
This was probably, like, you could have got some UFO pants pretty cheap at this point.
Yeah, and he's snowboarding, so he's very obviously emo, and you're telling me he didn't own any parachute pants with chains on it that he could have whipped the wolves away with? Like, come on. So... Yeah, so he lands. Again, when you're watching this for the first time and you don't expect it to happen, I'm telling you, I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but it wasn't his legs snapping in half and us seeing it. Like, I can't reiterate. I just, like, can't stress that enough. So he lands and immediately says, oh my god, my legs are broken. He's like, oh my god, my legs are broken. And Parker's like, how bad is it? And he goes, it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah, like they're like, can you still slide down the hill?
They're immediately like, okay, can you walk though? Like, his legs are hanging on by like skin at this point. Like, it's pretty bad.
You still probably walk.
He didn't even try, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, he just also he's like moving around at this point, and it's like close up on the, and it's like squelching noises. The sound is so disgusting.
I love that. Like, I mean, it's bad, it's gnarly, but it's just bone like sticking through skin, and he's screaming like, I'm.
Yeah.
Trying to like put a tourniquet on his leg.
Oh yeah, when he's trying to like reach for the scarf, it's like he's not doing a great job. I feel like I would like maybe take my hat off to use as a little more
or
like,
something like
just
reach.
You can still move your upper body, like fucking rotate, you idiot.
He's acting like no. He's acting like he is paralyzed at this point. And Parker is like, okay, like we're gonna throw you some stuff down to like you need to tie it off or whatever. So she like throws down her scarf so he can make a tourniquet or whatever. And just can't imagine it would really help that much. But also she really needed that scarf to like cover her face and stuff.
Yeah.
So and then she's like, I'm gonna throw my jacket down to you, girl, please. At least Dan is like, no, absolutely don't do that, and she doesn't, thankfully. But this is when Joe and so again, this to me was just like such the stupid move, because it's like they've only been stranded for a couple hours. He immediately breaks his legs in half, pretty much. Like, I just feel like, I don't know. So this is when Joe is like trying to figure out like what else he could do. He thinks he can climb, like pull himself and climb up the chair to kind of like, I don't even know what you call that, monkey bar across the wire to a chair that's closer to the ground so that he can then jump off, and quickly admits that he can't even do a pull-up. So he's like, I don't know, I could probably do it though, which like I probably can't do a pull-up. I definitely could not dangle myself across this wire. Like,
I bet I could do it. Maybe not that one specifically, because like if it's cutting into the minute it cuts into my hands, I just like fuck it and just drop.
Let go.
But,
yeah.
I'd let go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like a regular one. I feel like in a situation like this where there's just like maybe a regular wire of some kind that's not going to hurt you, I feel like I could maybe get from chair to chair.
Yeah. I mean, like,
I would have to take a fucking 8-hour break in between chairs, but
yeah, I'd be like, all right, let's just chill now. I feel like maybe I underestimate myself if like I had adrenaline and like a will to survive or something. But
no,
I just
you
like
would 100% be dead, and you'd be like, I'm jumping the minute we got stuck.
I just feel like I don't know if I could do it. Okay, so he's like, yeah, I can't do a pull up though, so I'm not really sure. And then Dan remembers that the poles that are holding the lift up have ladders on them, so if he could just like make it to one of those, he could ladder down. Where was that critical thinking 5 minutes ago before you broke your leg, sir? Like
well, yeah, like
before I jump,
now
I'm
you
thinking, is there any kind of ladder?
My immediate thought is I would have looked back and be like, I bet even if without the ladder, getting to that pole would probably be a better idea, just like sliding down it or something.
Right, and then if like
just been like
fall, you still break your legs.
Everybody
like,
give me their
maybe...
gloves. Put on 3 pairs of gloves and then go. Also, like when he actually starts going on that wire, like I feel like his problem is he's sliding his hands across it instead of like, which I guess it makes sense because they said like if he can't do a pull up, he's probably like not able to. But like every time he slides his hands across it, I'm like, this is why you're cutting your fucking hands up.
Yeah, gross.
Dummies.
Okay.
People are so dumb.
So, yeah, really. And this is when, so they're hatching this plan, and this is when they start to hear growling and howls. And Dan freaks out, obviously. And Parker makes a comment that says, it could be worse, right? I don't know, girl. I don't think it could. This is like a pretty bad situation. And But the joke that she's making, I think that she says like at least it's not the Sarlacc pit, which like again, not real. So this situation is pretty bad. Um, this is when so yeah, they hear the wolves, right? And Joe's like, "Oh my God." So he climbs up the chair and is trying to like get up, but he slips because it's really icy. So they're like, "Okay, we have to break some of this ice off so I don't slip." And so they're like punching the ice and the icicles and shit are just falling on Dan, which just feels like insult to injury to me. And he's like covering his face. So when he uncovers his eyes from like the icicles careening towards him, he sees a wolf. Again, a real wolf. Pretty big. They also make a comment when they're trying to like calm him down that like the wolves in New England aren't very big, so like it's fine. This is a massive wolf. This guy is huge.
I'm not gonna lie, I would be more upset if I saw a fake wolf.
That's fair. I'd be like, wow, I'm hallucinating now. So
any size wolf is
what if it
not
was
a wolf I
furry?
want to contend with.
Yeah. I feel like I would just stab myself in the head with the bone sticking out of my leg. If I was in this situation, just kill myself.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna figure out how to roll down the mountain.
Or like if I tourniquet, if like,
Alright, hold on a second.
that's fine.
For me.
If like my leg is broken like that and it's just barely hanging on, and I had that kind of like adrenaline where the wolves are there, I feel like I would figure out a way to just like rip it off and just start stabbing the wolves with the fucking bone.
Oh yeah, 100%. You got a weapon right there.
Yeah. He's just not thinking. Real dumb.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, when I think
You just start thinking laterally.
Yeah. Just
Sorry,
grab
really...
the wolf and stab him onto your leg. Not hard.
Yeah, and then, oh, hear me out. So you grab the wolf by the back of the head and you stab your leg bone into its head, and then you hop on it so you can like steer it around like a little horse and ride down the mountain.
Do one on each leg, just like skis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I heard a really weird noise and I thought something crazy was happening, but it's fine.
Was it wolves?
It wasn't wolves, but I don't know
That's good.
if I said this or if you responded. But what if it was a furry that showed up?
Or was it a Furby?
That would
Or
be
was it
also
just a
very
pack
scary.
of Furbies?
I'd be much more terrified if it was a Furby than any kind of wolf.
Just that Furby that's like made out of baked beans shows up.
You just see them like swarm out of the.
You didn't even see them.
Trees.
You just hear that fucking weird dialogue
Yeah.
coming out of the woods. I'd be like, "Fuck no!"
Hear the eyes clicking, like
Just
open and close.
Snap my own neck.
I don't like it. Okay. What? Oh, the wolves showed up, obviously.
What's happening?
I'm trying to figure out what I. Okay, sorry.
We confused her with the wolf horse situation.
Yeah, I'm working through the schematics of how all of this would work. Okay, so the wolves are there. They're freaking out. Parker throws her snowboard down to like scare it, and it does work. It like yelps and runs off or whatever. This is where Dan says that he can't feel his legs anymore, and that's probably not great, right? And Joe's like, no, don't worry. Actually, that's perfect. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, you're not supposed to feel them.
Yeah.
Who needs them?
Joe climbs up the chair again and grabs the cord, but he, like, first of all, also, like, if you've never been skiing or snowboarding, the boots that you wear are, like, clunky and terrible. So he is trying to, like, stand on the railing top of this chair in those, like, clunky boots. He, like, immediately slides off and it's just, like, dangling in the air. He starts, like, trying to go down the cable, but it's cutting through his gloves like immediately, and so he just jumps back into the car. into the chair or whatever.
Every time they show him on this cord, they'll show like where it looks like he's taken like, you know, like 8 arm lengths of like pulling himself, and then they show him and he's like a foot away from the ski lift.
Yeah.
And I'm always just like, bro, you didn't make it very far at all.
No. Yeah, because he can literally just like jump back into it or whatever. This is when more wolves come, and Dan is basically just like realizing that it's like over for him, so he's just like, okay, don't let Parker watch. Like, don't let her look.
I really like the shot of like, I forget what he's looking at, but he's got his hands over his face for some reason, and he pulls him away, and the wolf is just like right there.
That was when they were like hurtling icicles at him, so he was like covering his face from the ice. Yeah, it's good. And so he essentially just like gets mauled and attacked by the wolves.
Sounds pretty great.
Yeah, sounds fine. A little bit different than a shark, but I feel like not very. Joe is basically just like holding Parker's face and is like, don't look, and they're both like screaming and crying and stuff, which I feel like this is like the turning point where you're like, well, at least for me, where it's like I went from like I said, Parker never bothered me, but I went from like hating this like a group of people to being like, this is extremely sad, because it's like her boyfriend, his best friend, is now getting just like completely mauled by a wolf, and he's just like, don't let her see this happen to me, and they're just like holding each other and screaming and crying, which crazy. Meanwhile, Dan is like gurgling, like literally you can hear him dying, which is insane. And eventually, the wolves, finish, and like you can hear them like howling and running away or whatever. And Parker's hysterical, like really rightfully so, because she's just listened to her boyfriend get eaten by wolves. Then it kind of like cuts to like a later time where it starts snowing again. And this is when Joe is basically just like, oh, my hands are ruined from like that cable. And sounds terrible. Sounds really painful. This is where they basically kind of like start taking out the stress on each other, where Penny, Parker. That's definitely where that came from. Mm-hmm. Parker blames Joe for like, she's basically like, why did you let him jump? Like, you're his best friend. You should have told him not to. And Joe's just like, fuck you. Why did you let him jump? You're his girlfriend. Like, he would have listened to you. They start like arguing, and she's like, Joe basically like takes it a step further and is basically just like, if you didn't come on this trip in the first place, this wouldn't have happened, because we would have been able to do like a regular run earlier. We wouldn't be doing this like night run or whatever. And she's just like, bro, that's literally not fair, which is like so true. Like, it's not her fault.
Both of them are having I don't understand why they're having this conversation.
I think it's just like the grief coming out, and they need somebody to blame for the situation or whatever. And so, like, technically it's all your guys' fault, because you should have just bought passes and been normal.
Yeah.
Like,
you're just normal.
Like, this wouldn't be happening, right? And Parker just like starts crying, is basically just like, I'm sorry, like apologizing to him, and he's just like, no, like, I didn't mean it, and like hugs her, and they're like crying or whatever for a while, and they both like apologize or whatever. And again, this to me like really like humanized them for me in a way, because it's just like the scene where they're like crying and hugging each other, and it like pans out or whatever. And so it continues.
I can't remember if it's this scene or not. I think it's maybe a little later when she's having the conversation, or she's like talking about her dog. Is the moment I'm like, oh yeah, I get it.
That's actually coming right now. So it continues to snow. At this point, it shows us that it snowed so much that Dan's body is like essentially mostly covered by snow, and you just see like his hand sticking up, which I thought is like a cool shot. They're basically talking about, there's like this whole scene that I felt was unnecessary, but it was like basically Joe like hits on this girl, gets her phone number or whatever, and he's basically just like, when I get off this lift, like I'm gonna call and ask her to marry me, and I don't care, like we're gonna get married and have 2 kids and like a dog named Steve, and they like start talking about how Steve is a person's name, so you shouldn't name a dog Steve, which I agree.
No.
Don't name your dog Steve, that's stupid.
Yeah, name it Josh.
Yes, Josh Groban. That's fine. I agree with that. This is when Parker is reflecting on, but then she's the one that says like Steve is a person's name, like you shouldn't name a dog as Steve, like a person's name. But then her dog's name is Shayna, which is a person's name. Like Shayna is also a person's name. It's not as staunchly human like person as like Steve, but like still. Anyway, she's like talking about her dog Shayna, and then she like literally just starts like crying because she's talking about how she's just a puppy and she's probably so hungry and she doesn't understand. She's not gonna like understand that Parker's dead, and she's gonna think that like Parker abandoned her and no one's gonna feed her and she's gonna starve to death, and she just like keeps going on and on. It's like very depressing to think about.
I think about that like anytime we go like anywhere out of state.
I mean, sure, right? And Joe is essentially just like comforting her, and he's like, oh, don't worry, like other people in the apartment will like hear her barking and they'll save her, like don't worry about her at all, she'll be fine. So now it's morning. It has snowed so much that the trees are like half covered in snow, and it's basically just like showing us different shots of the snow or whatever. They have fallen asleep. Oh my gosh. I'm not even like kidding you. Everything that happens in this movie is like the fucking worst. So Penny, oh my God, Parker has fallen asleep with her hand that does not have a glove, like clutching the railing of the chair. And so we can see when she wakes up that she's got more frostbite on her face, but also like her hand is frozen to the lift bar. And so she very delicately, like, she like does this thing where she like lifts her hand up to try and like, you know, pull her hand from the bar, and the bar just like lifts up with it. And eventually she's able to pull her hand off, but her skin is like fused to the bar, and it just like rips off layers of her skin, which is disgusting.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, probably actually. And the movement of her ripping her hand off like lifts and drops the bar so that it wakes Joe up, but she decides that she's gonna like hide her hand from him. And this is when he noticed that her frostbite's really bad, and she's like, oh, it's itching, and she goes to like itch it, and he's like, no, don't touch it, like your skin will come off.
Yeah. Here, pull your face off.
Like literally. This is when they start talking about how like they're trying to like rationalize somebody's gonna come looking for them if they don't show up to school that day, but then Parker is like, I didn't tell anybody that I was coming here. Like, nobody knows that I'm here. And I guess Joe is like the same sentiment. This is when I'm just going to remind you guys, like, obviously, tell people where you're going all the time.
Just
like,
keep your fucking cell phone on you.
Or that. Oh, I mean, I guess it's 2010. I feel like they should have cell phones.
Well, they do.
There's,
they
like, this
say they left them in the lockers.
Right. Which is really stupid. Why would you do that? Like,
yeah, they're
dumb. I don't ski with my phone. Do you have a pen? I don't, sir.
I ski with a pen on me too, just in case.
You have to. You know, it's not a hazard at all. It's not a safety hazard. Yeah, so nobody knows that they're there at the ski resort. So even if they notice that they're missing, like, what could they even do? They don't know where they are. So they're basically just like, what should we do? Like, why don't we just like wait a little bit longer to see if anyone comes to do quote unquote mountain maintenance, which I found funny.
Maintenance.
Yeah. Joe falls asleep. There's a scene where Parker sees that he's sleeping and is like relieved because she's had to pee wicked bad since the day before. So she finally just has to like pee in her snowsuit, and she just starts like crying, which like it's so real.
Extremely weird and unnecessary, like long shot
of it
of her
of her
peeing.
crotch. Yeah,
it's like this is Strange.
That also feels like one of those things where like they were like people won't understand what's going on. And I'm like, they probably
I promise
won't.
you they will.
Also,
Yeah.
would she
people understand piss.
Would she
Yeah.
not get
People
like
know piss.
frozen to the seat in that case?
I think yes. I feel like it's probably cold enough.
Seems like
but...
that would cause a lot of problems.
Well,
Yeah.
and so like not only do they show
Gotta
a
squat.
shot of like her crotch actively become like with the pee, they also show like an undershot of the lift with like pee
I
trickling
think you
down,
could
and
have
I was
like
like,
clearly just shown
Yeah.
that and it would have been fine.
yes,
But
I agree. This now that I know a little bit more about this director, this feels like a weird kink thing, but I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Some people, I don't know.
I think he just has a thing for ski boots.
For ski boots?
Yeah. There's a lot of shots of ski boots in this movie.
Never thought about it before, but maybe.
Horny for ski boots.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yep.
Okay, scene is also gross because she has a scab on her face from the frostbite, and she's trying to like wipe away her tears, and she's just like ripping the gross scab off. It's like a wet brown scab. It's very gross. Okay, so Joe wakes up and Penny...
Are you okay?
I don't... Why?
You do this every episode. I just assume you don't know anyone's name.
I do. That's what's making me so mad. The Owen and Oscar thing was like one thing, but this is like just... I hate it. Parker asked Joe about why... Also, this story is like so stupid. Asks Joe like why he's never had a girlfriend because he's actually like a pretty decent guy or whatever, and he basically tells the story about how he dated somebody his freshman year and he thought she was his soulmate, but then she liked another guy who was like a frat guy, so he dumped her. This is like his.
The stories that like they were making fun of him behind his back, which like I get.
Right. So then, because he goes on to say like, you know, he basically stood up and walked out, and he's like, maybe I overreacted, and maybe I shouldn't have like stormed away, and I should have gone back and talked to you. And I'm like, no, like she literally was laughing at whatever joke this fucking dude was making, and you didn't even know who he was. So like, you're absolutely in the right, but like this story to me seems really benign to be like, I've never dated anybody again because this girl laughed at me. Like, get over yourself, bro. I don't know.
He's scared of the Starlight Pit, okay?
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Okay, so they basically like bond over how they like bring up again how like we shouldn't have let Dan jump, and they're basically like come to the realization that like it wasn't their fault. He was trying to save them, and like what he did was heroic, and they should like remember him for that or whatever. And Joe tells the story about how he met Dan for the first time in like kindergarten or something. It is not the endearing story that I think they think it is. So I'm not going to retell it. But basically they like bond over this or whatever, right? Because they're like earlier when they were like arguing about whose fault it was that he was dead, Joe was like, you've only dated him for a year and he's been my friend for my entire life or whatever. And I think that this is the scene where Parker says like I know that you guys were friends your whole life, but I really think he was the one. Like, he was the one that I was going to marry or whatever. So they, like, bond over this thing, right?
Don't seem like they had a good relationship, so I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah. Like, their interactions with each other up until this point were very, like, adolescent seeming. Yeah. Where you're just, like, bickering all the time and, like, whatever. So this is when Joe decides, like, okay, we're not going to let him have died in vain. Like, we have to try and escape. Like, we're going to do this. So he's going to attempt to climb down the wire and get to the pole ladder again, right? But this time, when he stands up on the railing at the top of the chair, it, like, basically the weight is too much and it shifts and a screw comes loose from the top of the chair. It's really concerning to me that the only thing holding up the ski lift is like a screw and a washer.
You'd be upset to find out about how many things in the world are like that.
Yeah.
I do not
hear about airplanes.
I don't. Oh my god. I don't doubt that. But it's concerning. And it comes loose, and now the entire chair is like hanging crooked, right? And so he basically has like no choice but to start climbing at this point because he's lost his footing and he can't get back down into the chair. So he is dangling there for a minute. The wolves come back immediately. They're like, they heard it. They're like, all right, let's go. We're moving in. So it's a little bit slow going, but Joe does eventually make it to the next chair behind them, like barely. He like literally loses his grip and falls into the chair. And his hands are fucking gross. They like show us that his hands are getting cut up through the gloves. And he's basically like tells Parker to throw his like ski stick onto the ground so that like once he gets down there he can use it as a weapon or whatever. And so she scooches over shakily, gets the pole stick and tries to throw it, but the momentum like jostles the whole chair so that when she throws it, it's like it ends up not being very far at all. And she's like, sorry. He's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. So he gets up on the wire again, and the wolves are essentially just like tracking his every movement at this point. But he is able to make it to the pole where the ladder is. He's like sliding around because the boots are fucking bulky and his hands are literally bleeding. Like you can see his handprints on the pole or whatever. This is what I'm talking about, where like instead of just like chilling for a minute, he immediately drops down to the snow and gets attacked by the wolves. Like he manages to get to the pole and like he's already being attacked though. He's like ragdolling around. There's blood everywhere. He ends up stabbing one of them with the ski pole in the side and it like yelps and runs away or whatever. And he's basically just like, all right, I'll be back for you. Gets the snowboard and sits down on it and has to like ride it down on his butt. But like, I understand that is probably the safer option if you don't know how to do. Also, his boots are not made for the snowboard, right? So like I get it, but he's like not going very fast.
I feel like you'd be better off just walking down the hill
again, or using the snowboard as a weapon.
Yeah,
but he just sits on it and is like, all right, see you later, whee, and tries to like slide away. But I don't know if he knows this, but wolves can run pretty fast, so they just chase after him immediately.
Much faster than you ass scooting on a snowboard.
Yes. And also, it's, like, very new, like, a large accumulation of snow, and it's new snow. So it's not, like, packed down. So it's not like you're just gonna rocket launch down the hill, right? So he goes out of scene, right? And now Parker is just chilling. Like, what can she even do? She's, like, looking around, like, okay, then. So that happens. The next morning, she wakes up and like freaks out for a moment, obviously because she's still on the ski lift, and the fact that she has not been rescued says to her probably Joe didn't make it. So she's just basically like, okay, well, I'm just gonna try and do whatever I can at this point. She gets on the back of the ski chair and like jostles it to the point where the screw falls out and the lift falls. And she's like holding on to it, but it like jerks because it's still kind of like attached to one of the cables or whatever. I feel like at that point I probably would have jumped down, but she holds on for so long for whatever reason. And eventually she drops down to the snow and is like totally fine because it snowed enough and the car fell enough that she like falls and she's fine. But then like the chair breaks loose and like literally falls and slams on her ankle. So that's not great. She seems mostly fine though, because she starts like sliding and crawling down the mountain, and we get kind of like a long shot of her like penguin sliding down the mountain and like walking down it and like pulling herself through trees and whatnot until She eventually slip slides like on her stomach around a corner and comes to Joe's extremely mangled body. And all the wolves are still there, and they're just like looking at her, but they basically just ignore her because they've already got like their buffet there essentially, and they continue to eat, and she just like slowly slip slides past them. She basically then there's a scene of her like barrel rolling down the mountain sideways, which was pretty fun. And eventually she makes it to the bottom of the mountain, which is just a road. And that's why I was saying earlier where I don't really understand what their plan was, because they're not being deposited at the lodge.
Well, I mean, I assume she's just going in a direction that's not towards the lodge. Like, I think it's supposed to be purposefully going towards the road because no one would be at the lodge.
Yeah, maybe. So she gets down to the road and she sees a car, but the car just ignores her. And so she ends up just like crawling into the middle of the road and just like laying there until eventually a van comes and has to swerve out of the way, nearly missing her, and like skids out or whatever. And then this good Samaritan gets out and runs up and is like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And like she's like lifeless at this point. She's got no strength left. And he picks her up and puts her in the car. And there's basically this long shot of her like leaning up against the window, like looking out it. And we overhear the driver being like, "I don't know. I didn't see any cars. Like blah, blah, blah." And then the guy is like, "Don't worry. The hospital's only 10 minutes away. Like, you'll be fine. You're going to be safe." And then she hears Dan's voice telling her that she's going to be okay, like over and over. And then it's the end.
I think she dies in the car.
She might. There's just literally a scene.
The car crash.
Well, like, because she just closes her eyes as she's hearing the like, "You'll be fine, you'll be okay," and in my mind, she dies in the car.
It could be because there is kind of like a weird like echo to his voice, and then it just like turns black, and you hear his voice again. So like, could very well be. Yeah, we don't actually know, but.
I know there's like a scene in Hatchet 2 that like plays like a news report about like the people being stuck on like the ski lift or whatever, and I think maybe I can't remember. I haven't seen Hatchet 2 in a long time, but like I know there's a scene that she reprises Parker in it. Maybe she like does live, and that's when you see it, but I can't remember. Pretty good. Needs like 2 Nickelback songs in it, I think, to really.
I think
set it
for
off.
good measure. I think for good measure, definitely too. Yeah, maybe Stained. But other than that, pretty good.
Fucking Aaron Lewis's country songs about how much he loves Trump and the country.
Yikes.
All right. I didn't look up any news. I assume it's all dumb. Let's see.
Yeah.
Russell Crowe's doing another exorcism movie.
Hell yeah.
No, why not? It's just called The Exorcism.
What was the other? The Exorcist?
The Pope's Exorcist.
Pope's Exorcism?
Apparently.
Is it related?
No. It's just a whole other one.
I absolutely love the idea that like somebody will be in a movie and then somebody else is like, "I loved you in this exorcism movie so much, I just really need to do another exorcism movie with you in it."
I keep hearing The Pope's Exorcist is insane. And like,
I think, didn't you like it, Kit?
I don't know.
Did you say you liked it? Or you didn't see it? I thought you said you liked it.
Pope's Exorcist?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Maybe Shane talked about it on here, because I know Shane watched it.
Yeah.
Shane was like, "It's insane.
Shane
You have to watch it."
Okay.
He's like,
I knew
it's not
we
good.
talked
It's
about
just
it, but...
completely unhinged.
You know, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Kit, you join in the fan call to get Terrifier 3 popcorn buckets?
Oh my god.
I know you're gonna go see it.
The biggest fucking loser fan base. Every day I hate those movies more and more.
Yeah, same thing. And I did not see 2, and I'm not going to because it was over 2 hours long. But first one is hot garbage.
I didn't even see the first one. I think I will not.
Oh shit!
Don't.
There's a fucking Aliens vs Avengers comic. I'm in.
Alien versus Terrifier.
Yeah, please. Just give me a 2-page thing of just xenomorphs ripping that clown to shreds.
That would rule. I hate him. I hate the clown.
Yeah.
His stupid face. I hate it.
Did you guys see that Fallout got renewed already?
Yay!
Hell yeah.
I think that's the only news thing. Everything else on here is pretty dumb. Filming is underway in Thailand for the upcoming Alien series for Disney.
Okay.
Hesitant, but I'll watch it. Alright, Katie, what'd you watch this week?
Okay, I watched a movie called The Stranger, which is a really bad title at this point. I feel like we should stop with those, like, one-word titles that, like...
Prequel to The Strangers?
Yeah, just, it very related, but it was starring Micah Monroe from It Follows and Dane DeHaan, and so I was like, oh shit, hell yeah. It was not super great, like, I really enjoyed Micah in it, but it essentially was basically just like, she's a rideshare driver, and she picks Dane DeHaan up, and he just is like a crazy hacker killing person, and like the whole thing sort of didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was fine. And then I watched It Comes at Night, which I actually didn't realize was A24. And like overall I liked it, but I feel like I wanted more. Like I expected to see a creature, I guess, and like you don't see a creature, but it's basically just like a pandemic of some sort has happened that is like pretty disgusting, and then it's just like how a family is like dealing with it or whatever. And then I watched Marrowbone for the first time, which
never even heard of that.
So
sequel to Monkey Bone.
Oh, I wish.
Yeah. So I watched half of High Life, which is Robert Pattinson is in it, and I was like texting Nathan about this. I only watched half of it and then I peaced out and I was like not interested anymore.
Was it the fuck box? Did you make it to the fuck box and turn it off?
Oh, you know I did. I watched a little bit past that. I made such a mistake with that. I, again, also did not know that was an A24 movie. And I started watching it because the premise was just like Robert Pattinson is like on a space station and he's with his infant daughter. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. The first 20 minutes of the movie is just like the baby crying at the top of her lungs. And I was like, oh my God. And then it devolves into like whatever else. And I was like, she just had sex with like a sperm machine. And I was like, for like 10 minutes. And I was like, this is not really what I was thinking I signed up for. So I just like pieced out of it.
Just texted me something about somebody having sex with a sperm machine. And I was like, what the fuck is a sperm machine?
Well, then also, jump scare of Mia Goth for me because I didn't know she was in the movie. Then I turn on Marrowbone, which I have heard of, and fucking Mia Goth was in that movie too. And I was like, why is this happening to me? It was fine though because she's kind of like a minor character. And also that one of the guys from like Stranger Things was in it, and then Anya Taylor-Joy. So it was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna watch this movie. And it's kind of like a gothic horror, but kind of like a mystery situation with like, I just really liked it. I loved the aesthetic of it. I liked the story. I don't really want to say too much about it because it has I just really liked it. And so that was nice. And then I watched.
So that was nice.
Yeah, I really liked it. I don't know if I would necessarily think either of you guys would like it, but I really liked it. And then actually I think that's it.
Marrowbone sounds like a Gen Z Beetlejuice.
That's Bill Skarsgård's SoundCloud rap name in The Fucking Crow.
That's right.
Kit, what'd you watch this week?
I think I've literally only watched Taskmaster and Fallout.
What do you watch a Taskmaster on? I keep hearing about that, and it sounds
YouTube.
Amazing.
They've got 17 or 18 seasons
Jesus
uploaded
Christ.
on their YouTube. It
What?
it rules so hard. It's the funniest fucking show.
They talk about it on Knowledge Fight all the time because it's like both of them watch it, and I'm always like, I need to jump into this, but we're currently catching up on the traders right now, so
it's such a fascinating look into the human mind. Like,
yeah, because isn't it literally just
how people's
like,
brains work
hey,
trying to solve a
like
task?
your task is to get this like ball from one side of the room to the other, and like, or some shit like, it's just dumb shit like that, right? And then people just
they'll have like a bunch of really like insane stuff. So it's like one was there's a ironing board, and you have to get the iron on the ironing board from the furthest distance away. So you've got one person like trying to make a zip line, and another's trying to like get it on a hook, and then one guy is like discus throwing it, trying to get it to land on the ironing board.
I was gonna ask if they give them like supplies, or can they just like do they give? Are they like, here is a table full of things you can use, or is it just like?
Most of the time they give them stuff on the table, but a lot of times like they just don't tell them anything.
Mm-hmm.
So like they'll read the task, and then someone will be like, well, can I use this? And the guy that's there with them is just like, all the information's on the task. So they're just like put on the spot and have to try and figure out what they're doing.
I love that premise. I
So
know
good.
you probably Nathan talked about it before, and I was like, that sounds really interesting, and then I just like it totally left my mind. But that's great. Like, I love that kind of thing of like seeing how people's minds work differently.
I probably talked about The Cube. There's like a show on like TBS, I think, called The Cube that it's literally like you step into this giant cube and it'll be like, hey, you have 30 seconds to get like 800 red balls out of this like bin or what. It's just like shit like that, and it's like,
is Taskmaster British?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course it is.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I am recalling the conversation now. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
They had one on the season that I'm watching where it was is a simple thing, like they walk into the room and there's two tables, one to the right, one to the left, and in the middle on the floor there's a big clock counting down from 30. And they go to grab the task like they always do. It's this little envelope. And Alex, the like co-host, he's like, I wouldn't open that if I was you. And they're like, what? Why not? And then he starts like trying to talk to him, like asking him questions and stuff. And once they open it, it's like, oh, hold these two things of milk over the two microwaves, without touching. Lowest number on the clock wins. So they're all like, oh, fuck, I should have not opened it.
I'm in.
Because the clock's just constantly counting down while he was trying to talk to him.
I only have 43 more seasons of Survivor to get through first.
Wow. That'll breeze by.
Yeah. Pretty much all I've watched is David Lynch shit. I've been burning through all of his like shorts and stuff, and I watched The Elephant Man for like the first time in 20 years. More than 20 years probably. And it rocks. It's so good. Perfect movie. I also watched David Lynch's Hotel Room, which is apparently like I think an HBO thing that maybe 3 episodes or something that him and the director of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark each did segments for, and it's very weird, as you would expect. But Harry Dean Stanton and Crispin Glover are in it.
Ooh.
So what else could you ask for?
I
think that's pretty much it. I just watched a fuck ton of David Lynch shorts. Alright, shout outs. Katie.
You guys are gonna hate me, but I just started King of the Hill again, so it's King of the Hill.
Hell yeah.
King of the Hill. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Like, I don't
Once
know
every
if it's
6 months, it's Katie's shout out.
like, actually, yeah, and I was like, oh, I haven't watched it this year. It is like definitely my number one comfort like rewatch at this point. And I said, oh, I haven't watched it this year. I don't actually even know if that's true. But I'm doing it.
What about you, Kit?
Reverse shout out for the company that took one of those awful fucking police robot dogs and put a flamethrower on it.
Oh.
Fuck you guys.
The fuck?
It's a Ohio-based firm called Throw Flame, and they put a flamethrower on the dog and called it the Terminator.
Throw Flame. Get the fuck out of here.
I also have an anti-shout out to the Dayton Metro Library.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on in Ohio, Nathan?
Katie and I have been trying to get fucking Hoopla to work for like weeks, and I realized I had to actually go look at the website today that Dayton's library just stopped supporting Hoopla. I was like, God damn it! So now I gotta go get like a
it was
New
like
Jersey
so
fucking
weird
library card.
Yeah, it was like so weird because we watched. Thank God we watched that Russian sleep experiment or whatever the fuck. And then it was like we were recording that episode and I logged in to like renew the book. I was literally in the middle. I was like 80% done with the book on there. And I went to look at it and it asked me to relog in and I was like, that's kind of weird. I've never had to do that before. And then it just like didn't say anything. It just was like it was stuck on a thing that said like these were your previous borrows and like that's it. So we would just have never known. But I've been checking every single day in the app.
Same.
And I'm like literally so depressed because I had like a really juicy TBR going on, but it is what it is. It's fine.
I mean, assuming those books are part of the New Jersey one too, I'm gonna go just get New Jersey library card.
I hope so.
My shout out. The new Couch Slut album, You Could Do It Tonight, and the new Bong Ripper album, Empty. Both fucking bangers. Yeah. The Bong Ripper album's so fucking good.
God, it rules. I forgot it was coming out, and I got the Bandcamp notification at like 11:30 the night before. I was like, yes!
I had saw like they had an album coming out, but it was never like put up for pre-order or anything. So yeah, I'd like kind of forgot about it too. And then I was like, oh shit. Seeing like all of Megan's fucking posts and shit from Roadburn has made me extremely stoked for them.
Roadburn looks so incredible this year.
Them and like Sun Rot, like I've been like watching just both of fucking two bands my friends are in, just like having the best time over there. All the videos from fucking Couch Slut at that skate park is so fun. Megan.
What a great venue.
I love watching them where like Megan wearing like a long sleeve shirt and then like a fucking New York Giants shirt over it, profusely bleeding from her head. And then Amy over there playing like a fucking vintage like early 1900s guitar in her like fucking like gorgeous like pink dresses and shit. And I'm just like, what a fucking like contrast. All right, Kit, did you pick a movie for next week?
I did, kind of. I've got a list.
Oh, jeez.
Do y'all have Peacock?
I do.
Then I do.
All right. I'm going to give y'all a choice, because I don't want to decide. We can do Nope, or Dead and Buried, or Dread.
Wait, didn't we already do Dread?
We did, yeah.
Did we?
Yeah,
okay, then it's Nope or Dead and Buried.
Me, you, and Shane.
I knew we had done one of those, but I couldn't remember.
Dead and Buried, like the 80s movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in for... I have not seen Nope, so, like, I'm in for either.
I haven't either, yeah.
Dead and Buried rocks, though. I haven't seen that in a long time. Let's do Nope, because I feel like Dead and Buried could work as like a regular episode.
Yeah.
And I feel like Nope is something that we probably would not cover normally.
Yeah.
Wait, I lied. Haven't I seen Nope? That's the... Never mind, I have seen it. Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah, the Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah. For some reason, I immediately was thinking Get Out, and I was like,
you were thinking of Yup.
I lied. Let's do Dead and Buried, because Nope is currently not streaming on anything.
I was thinking of Yup.
It was on Peacock.
Right now, Letterboxd is just saying Amazon and Vudu. Maybe
I was looking at the Peacock app
maybe
and saw
maybe
it.
I don't have Peacock set up on my Letterboxd thing. I don't know. I'm down for
Yeah,
either. So, Katie, you make the final
You get me
decision.
paranoid. Yeah, so it's on Peacock for sure.
Katie die?
no, I'm here.
All right.
Um, I don't know. I have not seen Dead and Buried, so I can't really comment on that. It does seem like it would work for a regular episode, though, versus Nope is just like a
we'll
regular.
do Nope then. That's fine by me.
Hell yeah.
I'm currently logged out on my phone of Peacock, so I'm not sure like if I was gonna look to make
Yeah,
sure.
well, we'll do. Just come back, and one of them will be happening at the very least.
We should pick an entirely different movie other than those two.
Yeah.
I almost did like at first when like Frozen was just like not on anything anymore, and Nathan, you can watch it on YouTube for free with ads. I will say though, the ads are horribly placed. Yeah. It's just like one of those things where they just
it's like every 9 minutes, no matter what is happening in the movie, there's like an ad break.
So it is a little jarring, but it is free to watch on YouTube.
And also, I realized after we watched it that it's now on Prime as well. So,
but it was on a few things when I picked it, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and then I don't know, who the fuck knows. So we'll just see. One of those things will happen. I decided this is the year I will watch a bunch of the movies that I missed. Like, I still haven't seen Get Out. I haven't seen Hereditary. Obviously, at this point, I know what happens in Hereditary because, of course. So I'm going to start watching. So Nope fits in.
All right. So I guess we're doing that next week. God damn it, I gotta figure out what my fucking Peacock login is.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. If you would like to support us, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/IBSufferPodcast. Sometime in the near future, there will be in May, our best of 2023 episode, our timely best of episode. And then Katie and I are doing an episode on Green Hornet sometime soon, which I've been told is the greatest movie ever made. So
that's fair. Yeah, I think that's
reliable sources
by one person.
Yeah. I think that person sounds very intelligent. So
let's see what letterbox rating Green Hornet's sitting at. I bet I'm gonna say it's probably below 2.5.
No,
it's 2.4.
Oh, you guys.
Seen a lot of 1-star ratings from people I follow.
Well, good thing they're all stupid, and my opinion is the one that counts.
Oh my god, fucking Cameron Diaz is in this.
Oh,
you picked this because Edward Furlong's in it. I'm on to you.
You know what? I actually didn't remember he was in it until we did Brain Scan, and I was like looking through his other movies, and I was like, oh shit. I mean, he's not a main character, obviously.
I'm sorry. Michael Gondry directed this? How the fuck did that happen? I'm so fucking confused by this movie now. Now I kind of want to watch it. How did the same guy that did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Science of Sleep do this?
Yeah, it's a perfect, like, you can, back to back, Green Hornet, Eternal Sunshine. It's a great combo.
Sure. All right, yeah. Patreon.com/IBSufferPodcast if you would like to listen to me be baffled in the coming future. And Katie be very excited. You can follow us on Instagram at IBSufferPodcast. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes and Spotify. You can follow Kit at Hidden Kitstery and Kitrification of Blood. You can follow Katie at Werewolf Face and join Katie's Patreon at patreon.com/werewolfface. You can listen to my other podcast, Nate and Kate Movie Club. All right, I guess I'm finally watching Dope next week.
Yeah.
Yup.
I'm going to talk about how Us is secretly the best movie by Jordan Peele. Well, we'll see. I haven't seen Dope yet, but
okay, let's see if I can watch Get Out, Us, before this.
Have you not seen either of those?
No.
Interesting. Honestly, I might rewatch them too. I fucking love Us. Get Out is
If
very
they're-
good.
They all slap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've been extremely interested in all of them, so I just like whatever. We'll see.
Time to fix your life.
You're saying that now,
I
and we're
know.
gonna next week. It's gonna be like, I'm on season 9 of King of the Hill, so I didn't watch anything else.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's very fair
Um,
actually, but
All right. I hope you get stuck on a ski lift. But why? I also hope you break your legs and get eaten by wolves.
I hope that Bigfoot catches your fall and you become in love forever.
Everybody wants to fuck Bigfoot. That's just like human history
Yeah.
canon.
Science.
Human history canon science.